Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to Mental Health and Murder. My name is Natasha, and this is the first episode in this series, Mental Health and Murder. And today we're going to be talking about a mom who killed her own daughter. Yes, I said it. She killed her own daughter. Before we get into this case about Rebekah Gasperino, 32-year-old from Albany, New York, I just want to say that I am not a psychologist. I am a licensed clinical social worker, psychotherapist, clinician, and I am coming to you with the clinicians. I come to you with a background in psychology, social work, psychotherapy, to talk to you all about what's going on in the lives of these individuals who commit these heinous crimes. There's a lot of channels out there that share the crimes with you, that share the stories, but what I want to do is not only share the story, but talk to you about what might be going on in the mind of that person, what happened in their background that may have led to them committing these crimes that some of us might describe as unspeakable. Also, please know that with each of these cases, I've done the research to the best of my ability. You are more than welcome to fact check me in the comment section. Please make sure that you are respectful. But overall, we are here again to talk about the potential why behind so many humans do commit such heinous crimes. So, Rebekah Gasperino, who is she? Like I said earlier, she's a 32-year-old mother from Albany, New York, who was stopped. She was driving somewhere one day, and it was like 2:30 in the morning, and she actually got pulled over by police for a traffic stop. So based on what I would consider probably a brief conversation with Rebekah, they somehow found out that she was a mother, and she seemed to be under the influence. Her daughter wasn't with her. It was 2:30 in the morning, and they ended up doing a wellness check, only to find out the worst. Before we go into further detail on this case, I do want to give a little bit of education. To better understand the story, it's important that I share with you that there is a definition, there is a way of referring to parents who kill their children, fathers who kill their children, mothers who kill their children. For example, child filicide, that is known as the murder of your child within that child's first year of life. This is something that actually happens more often than we realize. And then also there's something called child neonaticide, and that is the killing of your child within that child's first 24 hours of life. Unfortunately, most of these murders are committed by mothers, and I think it's probably safe to say that this is in many ways tied to postpartum depression. But it doesn't only boil down to mothers. Fathers actually kill their children as well. Statistics have shown that fathers, when they do kill their children, tend to kill their sons, and mothers tend to kill their daughters. Now you're probably wondering, why would anyone kill their child? And I completely understand. It's a very valid question. Outside of postpartum depression, many of these mothers are often found to struggle with some sort of mental health disorder. So sometimes it is like a paranoid disorder such as schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, clinical depression, psychosis, so on and so forth. So going back to Rebekah's story, she was a mother prior to killing her daughter. She was also going through or in the middle of a divorce from her ex-husband. She had been going through that divorce for at least a year and a half at the time of her killing her daughter. Now, it's important to note that her husband or ex-husband had actually tried to gain custody of their daughter several times before she killed their child, and I believe her name is Sophia. Now, the last time he attempted to gain custody of Sophia was just 3 weeks before. I also want to share the importance of understanding that it's not very easy to determine immediate danger, which is what Sophia's father tried to do. He had gone to the courts. He had said, listen, I feel like my ex-wife may harm our daughter and that she is in immediate danger. Unfortunately, that is not always easy to determine or to prove, because in order for someone to be in immediate danger, as you are reporting that, they actually need to be in danger at that time. But by the time you go to the courts, the situation may have calmed down, and they may see it as, sure, there's been some tension building up, but your child technically in this very moment is no longer in immediate danger, which is unfortunate, especially in this case of Sophia Gasperino. You may also be asking yourself, how did the judges miss this? Especially if he had been trying over and over and over again to get custody of Sophia. And the answer is, I really don't know. The courts is a very strange place to be. It's supposed to be a place of justice, but unfortunately, the judges, the courts, they miss the mark quite often. And in the case of Sophia, if the courts had listened to Mr. Gasperino, she would be alive today. So let's take it back to when police pulled Rebekah over. As I stated in the beginning, she seemed to be under the influence, and they found that she was. I also want to point out there that Rebekah was extremely religious. She identified as a Christian. And one of the things that she had stated to the police officers that let her know that her disposition was a bit off in that moment is that she had had a dream where Sophia had been killed, Sophia had been murdered, but in that dream she doesn't know how, she just knows that Sophia had been murdered. Outside of being extremely religious, people who knew Rebekah, well, people who knew the family, especially neighbors, they described her as being extremely quiet and reserved, and that she was very much to herself. Now, being reserved is not a reason that someone would kill. Being quiet is not a reason that someone would kill. Not wanting to be around other human beings is not a reason that someone would kill. But I do want you to take into account that at times, this is a sign and or symptom of other issues that are going on, especially if the person has ruminating thoughts where they spend a lot of their time overthinking certain types of kind of like scary scenarios, such as these dreams that Rebekah said she was having. It can kind of keep the person isolative from the rest of the world, where they stick to themselves a lot because they're spending so much time thinking about these different things. In the case of Rebekah, it doesn't seem like she was experiencing psychosis, and I don't have enough evidence to decide that for this video, but I will say that for a lot of people, there is a fine line between devout faith and psychosis. Neighbors were being interviewed after the slaying of Rebekah's daughter. One of the neighbors had said that the couple was pretty private and that they always kept to themselves. To further expound on the experiences that Rebekah was having, it was reported that she would often describe it as like a spiritual vision. And the times that Mr. Gasperino would try to file for custody, he made it clear that these visions that Rebekah said that she was having, she often described as a prophecy from God. In further research, it was found that on her Facebook page, there were a lot of religious focused posts. And now again, being a Christian, being Muslim, being Buddhist, whatever it may be, it doesn't mean that because all of your posts are focused on religion that you are going to be a fanatic or that you may end up killing someone. That's not necessarily a defining factor. However, because all of her posts, or primarily all of her posts, were religious focused, and because she killed her daughter, it gives us more insight into maybe how focused she was on her religion, or maybe how, I guess we could say, maybe how unhealthily enthralled she was, and that she didn't realize that she had crossed that threshold from kind of having a healthy relationship with a higher power to struggling with some sort of mental illness. And unfortunately, outside of Rebekah admitting that she killed her daughter, we don't know why else. Technically don't even really know if she did it in the name of God. We technically don't know if she did it out of anger to spite her husband who had filed for divorce. We really don't know. Now, you also may be wondering what else could be going on. As a psychotherapist, when I hear cases like this, one of the first things I ask myself is, what was her childhood like? What was her adolescent years like? And of course, those types of experiences aren't an excuse to grow up and kill someone. However, it does help us answer how the person got to that place. I don't have much on Rebekah's childhood and background, but what we do know is at the time of her killing her daughter, she had not been officially diagnosed with any mental illness. But that doesn't mean that she did not have an underlying mental health condition that had gone undiagnosed or unnoticed. Studies have shown that mothers who do kill their children, there's a direct correlation between killing their child and this overwhelming fear of not being able to care for that child. And I don't know that this was the case with Rebekah. There's a likelihood that she suffered from some form of depression. Postpartum depression for a lot of women actually goes beyond the few weeks, the few months after giving birth. Some women go from experiencing that postpartum depression to then transitioning into what would be considered clinical major depressive disorder. When a woman first gives birth, you're going through all of these changes. It's an adjustment, and sometimes that adjustment comes with anxiety, sometimes that adjustment comes with depression, sometimes it comes with a mixture of both, and for some people that adjustment comes with conduct behavior, potentially some other symptoms that we just have not been privy to. I also wouldn't be surprised if she struggled with low self-regard, self-esteem, and just felt unworthy as a mother. Again, none of these symptoms is at all an excuse to murder someone, let alone your own child. It does give us kind of a basis of potentially what led to her getting to a point of doing this. Now, I know that I said that there is a fine line between kind of devout religiosity, being really embedded into your spiritual self, and psychosis. So was Rebekah truly a devout Christian, or was she suffering from visual or even auditory hallucinations where she was hearing voices? I guess we'll never really know. Overall, Rebekah is now behind bars, and 3-year-old Sophia is no longer with us. Her life was ended prematurely, and now a family is now without their little girl. Thank you so much for tuning in to Murder and Mental Health. I hope you enjoyed this very first episode. Please stay tuned. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to share, and make sure to subscribe, because we have a lot more cases to take a look at and to dissect and to dig deep into the mental health aspects of each of these cases. Again, I'm going to throw out this disclaimer. It is not okay to use our mental health issues, our mental wellness concerns, our mental illness diagnoses as an excuse for committing heinous crimes. However, those mental health issues, those mental health illnesses and diagnoses can be a huge part of our answer as to why these things happen. Hope you enjoyed. Till next time.